Alright, Shalom. Okay. I had a little thought that came to me today, and this one's about white fascists and institutional racism. Now, basically, what it is that there's been a lot of media coverage about, the rise of white fascism over in Russia, the stuff that happened in the Ukraine for the Euro 2012 stuff and stuff like that, and the attention that it draws from the media. Now, let's have a look at this with an analytical mind. Which is more dangerous? That type of, you know, Dr. Martin wearing, skinhead having, neo-Nazi type of attitude. Is that more dangerous? Is that really more dangerous than the institutional type of racism that we face in this country? Now, Britain are like, the media's trying to drop it like Britain's, they're a step above everybody else, etc., and how they're progressive and blah blah blah. Yeah, but yeah, I would say maybe the average Joe in the street is not going to knock the block off. But let's look at the institutions that we're talking about here. And you're talking about mental health, yeah, and our mental institutions over here. We're talking upwards of about 40% of the mental institutions is made up of black people. That is institutional racism. Basically, you are judging by your European standards of mental health and trying to apply it to a non-European person, regardless whether the person who is doing the diagnosis is racist or not. He could have black friends, he could love West Indian food, he could go down the curry house, but if he's in the job that actually has to perform that function, he is performing a racist act. Now, I take this further. Our doctors, the NHS, when they diagnose patients with diseases and health and prescribing medicines, the whole medical diagnosis is based on a European body. It's regardless of what people say when they say things like when a black person cuts their skin and a white person cut their skin, they both bleed red blood. We are different. And just looking at us, we've got two different colours. We are different people, regardless of what you say. And the bottom line is, it's not taken into account when diagnosis is made. That's another form of institutional racism. Another form of institutional racism, obviously this happens in America and it happens over here when it comes down to the stop and search. Yeah? And basically, primarily, they target more the young, they target more in the poor areas, and that just happens where the majority of black people are congregated. And they say things and they put things out like the majority of muggings that are done in the city or in the inner city is done by black people. But they don't say things like the majority of white crime is done by white people on white people. You will never hear that. It's obvious, but you will never hear that, right? But you'll hear about black and black crime. Basically, you kill who's who's your neighbour. If your black person is your neighbour, you will kill them, right? So, what I'm saying is, these forms of institutional racism, as far as I'm concerned, are infinitely more dangerous than the type of neo-Nazi stuff that we've been witnessed on the media. The media's doing a cloak and the magic trick, a diversional magic trick, when it's like, look at my left hand, look at my left hand. Meanwhile, my right hand's doing something different and trying to hide the ball that I just shown you. That's the type of thing that the media likes to do at the moment, yeah. So they're trying to show that how good. This is all I got to say, and I've said this. I've pointed this out to maybe a couple of white people, and I've said to them, it doesn't matter whether you mean well. It doesn't matter whether you think that black people are great or you love reggae music. That's irrelevant. You know, even our own black people are in certain jobs who are not aware of what they're doing. They are performing institutional racism because the job that they perform is inherently racist and has racist functions in the job. That is that is what it is. It is what it is. You know, white people have created this system and basically they want to keep themselves on top of the totem pole, keep themselves at the pinnacle of the pyramid and at the top of society. That is their aim, and that is they've got various guises, vices, mechanisms of ensuring that the status quo remains and it doesn't change. I know it will change eventually, but I'm telling you, this is what the situation is. So, when I see this stuff about neo-Nazi and I don't want to go to Russia, they'll, you know, they'll knock 7 bells out of you and blah blah blah, this that the other. I think you're more likely to be you're more likely to be under threat in America, in the UK. You know, you are because they've actually got the racist policies built into their structures already because they've been in touch with us far longer. They haven't got the same kind of racist policies in Russia because they've never had the same level of dealings with necessarily people of colour. You know, they've dealt with the Chechens, etc., and they got their racism towards Muslims, but they don't, which is inherent in their culture, but it's not quite the same necessarily against black people, right? So I say, you know, it ain't gonna change for now. This inherent institutional racism. I even admitted it. Our police force over here, shock, horror. The head of the police force claims that the police force is inherently racist. What? Really? Are they? I never knew that. I never knew that. In all the years, I never knew that. You know? I mean, why are you stating the obvious? Why are you stating the obvious? I mean, what I'm wondering, are there white people in this country who actually believe that, you know, that the police force isn't racist? Do they? Is that all? What it is that I know generally they don't really care because it doesn't really bother them. Anything that doesn't affect them, they're like, yeah, well, it's nothing to do with me, so I don't have to say anything. But the point is, though, right? As black people, we're more under threat with these countries which have these policies in their institutions that affect us directly than any neo-Nazi people. Neo-Nazis, they just want you out your country. That's all they want. They just want, I want my land back, I want you to get out. That's it. That's all they want. Yeah? And if you don't go, then we'll do violence. The policies that they've got in these institutions are much worse and far more dangerous. And the bottom line is, when you're sick, who are you supposed to go to? You're supposed to go to them, but you can't go to them because they'll probably end up killing your ass. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Peace and enjoy your day. Shalom.